What up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gen Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. Marvel Roundup, man. We got doomsday rumors of Doom variants. We heard this last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it now. Tobey Maguire as the Spider-Man of Doomsday. I didn't hear that, Brian. So this is going to be interesting to hear what you got for that. More Sadie Sink rumors is like, I don't understand the secrecy behind. You would think Doom, obviously Doom is not a secret.
Yeah, we got to talk about this one.
But Sadie Sink, they got her. You don't even see that as her. You see a person in a hood and she's hidden. She's hidden. And do we care? I only care if it's one specific character. But we'll talk about that. Brand new day, possibly introducing The Hand, which we got our taste of, right, Brian, in Daredevil on the Netflix show. And we weren't necessarily, I think the majority of people who tuned in found that part of Daredevil not as interesting. But we might get them in this next iteration of Brand New Day. Vision Quest updates. Brian, I haven't heard anything about that, but I've always been interested in that show and seeing how that turns out. But let's get into it. Doomsday. Rumors of Doom variants. Every day, Brian, the more I hear about this, the more I say they were looking at the script and they crossed out Kang and put Doom in it. What is the latest in that?
Yeah, you hope not. But when I saw this, I had exactly the same thought. And, the report, it isn't just, variants might not even be the right word, is more like alternate versions of the character. So in this one, there's a report of multiple Doctor Dooms appearing in Avengers Doomsday, including 2 female versions with big name actors and actresses to play the roles of the variants beyond RDJ. And Pablo is shaking his head, and I'm in the same camp. I don't get how this adds or works in any way.
The hopes that I continue this, because there is a little bit of hope for this movie to be outstanding. There's hope for it. We want it to be outstanding. And some of the plot details and discussions that we had in terms of what this movie can be that will sort of spark that excitement, get the dopamines working. We've talked about those things that can cause that, but this right here, it just continues to put a damper on the hopes of this movie being as good as we would like it to be. This whole Doom variants, and now it reminded me of Loki, the Loki seasons, all the variants that he had, all the alternatives, and then we have the female. It's like, why are we doing this? Why?
Again,
yes,
that's the thing, right? This is not new. Yeah. I thought of only one angle on this, which was helpful, and that was the idea that the RDJ version is not the version. That's another get out of jail free card for down the road, a new actor playing a true Victor Von Doom, from Latveria from the beginning in the way the comics intended. That's another, this could be a get out of jail free card. However, doesn't that cheapen the whole use of Doom here? If you find out that this is we're just using the Doom name, but it's really an alt universe Tony Stark all along. And that's how we could get RDJ to do this, but we actually haven't really rolled out the true Doom vehicle, and we're going to save that for down the road. That feels like Marvel outsmarting itself a little bit to me.
But I go back to that statement Kevin said about to Downey when they first, let's do Doom the right way.
This doesn't feel like the right way, man, but this also feels like, what, you don't have enough big names and enough cameos in this movie? You got to stash a few more wearing the mask and the hood? Like, come on.
And neither do I. But it does spark the curiosity, Brian, of what this show will be.
Under the big top.
Yeah, man. They should make a theater and put those big tents and put a theater inside them. Because this is a circus, man.
The other one, which I did hear, which made more sense, is it not happening. But I did read a report this week that they toyed with the idea of making this 3 movies instead of 2, and that actually was like, that felt legitimate because it was like, okay, you're admitting you're way behind and you got a lot of work to do here, and you're questioning whether 6 hours is enough to get that work done. But you're also questioning, do you have the box office sway to do 3 movies in 3 consecutive years and have the audience really come out for that the way you want, the way you need.
And that's the thing, Brian, the timeline. We gotta wait 3 years for a reset or a soft reboot, whatever Kevin wants to call it.
Yeah. Of something that people are kind of dissatisfied with now. That's the thing.
All I can say is we have to just wait and see. We just have to wait and see because every week there's something new. We don't know what this is going to be. We don't know. And again, shout out to Tracy Sport 4994. What's the story? Obviously, we've gotten little hints of possibilities, which we sort of, when we think about it, it makes sort of sense. How will it play out? That's a different story. What involvement all these other characters are going to have? Obviously, we know that the X-Men, the Fox X-Men are going to be destroyed, right, by Doom. Whatever, we don't know, but that's the possibility, right? Shout outs to Channing Tatum because I know Brian and a lot of people don't like his work, but I've often enjoyed some of his work and stuff. But
see, the thing is, I'm also sour because he was not good as Duke in G.I. Joe.
I never saw that movie. I couldn't watch it.
So to me, it's like these actors who have delivered like multiple strikes to characters and properties that I really like. You know, I'm kind of just not with you anymore. It's like I said this about what's her face, and I don't think she's a terrible actor, but Khaleesi, Emilia Clarke. You know, you messed up Sarah Connor in a Terminator movie. You're like the worst outcome of Secret Invasion. Like, you know, you're a useless character in Solo or Star Wars. I'm like, stop coming in these franchises because every time you show up, these projects stink.
It is what happens when people believe you have some sort of star power and it isn't necessarily so. And not to say that you do bad work, is that they put you in stuff that you don't necessarily, I don't know if you,
it's not right for you. It's not for you.
Yeah.
She was excellent in Game of Thrones. That's a different type of character.
What's with this? I didn't hear this, but what's with this Tobey Maguire as a Spider-Man for Doomsday and not Tom Holland? What have you heard?
So ever since they did the chairs thing, right, there's been a lot of speculation as to why Tom Holland didn't have a chair. And there was a lot of, back then, the assumption was, well, they're just sort of dotting I's, crossing T's on contracts, and especially because Holland has the more complicated crossover stuff with Sony. His announcement is inevitable and it's coming. And then it kind of hasn't happened, right? You've gotten a lot of Brand New Day stuff. There's talk of like Brand New Day has got some Avengers 5.5 qualities to it. So he's kind of doing his own thing over there. And then he's got a big part in Secret Wars. That's kind of how that's updated. But then it started to kind of like filter out of like, yeah, but Spider-Man's in Doomsday, right? Like has to be, right? And then kind of just came across and I was like, were we asleep this whole time? Because they were like, no, apparently Tobey Maguire was on set, spotted on set. And he's in Avengers Doomsday. And that's the Spider-Man. And that's the Peter Parker that you're going to see in Doomsday. And they said supposedly they did something CGI to his suit for this movie while he was on set. But I kind of was a little caught off guard by like, wow, we just sort of pivoted and borrowed the original Spider-Man, and there's going to be no Tom Holland in the 5th Avengers movie, but he will be still coming in the 6th. This kind of caught me off guard. What is your reaction to this approach of like, we've got a couple of Spider-Men out there we could have used, but we don't use the MCU one for Doomsday. We're actually going to go back and use the Raimi one.
Thinking about it as you're speaking, and Tobey Maguire being the one, because again, if you look back at the comics, and I remember it more so from the Spider-Man cartoon that he was involved in a Secret War situation, right? And he was sort of like the leader because he was picking his team. He picked the Fantastic Four on Battle World or in this situation that he was involved in and put in charge of. Tobey Maguire is the more seasoned Spider-Man in this whole thing. When you talk about Tom Holland, uh, Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, those guys are a little bit less experienced, and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man has a lot more going on that I think deserves his own thing if they ever decide to do that movie with him. But Tobey Maguire, again, is the more seasoned veteran, which to me, if he is involved in Secret Wars, makes the more sense to be the one leading, if in fact he is leading. But certainly involved in this Secret Wars, I think he makes the more sense. And I think you'll get a hint of it, Brian, when we see the movie. When we see the movie, and Spider-Man shows up and he's not saying anything, he doesn't say one word until he reveals who he is. Because they're not going to let him be in the mask and start speaking, because that gives it away as to who it is. The reveal will come when he takes off his mask and he's done all this bunch of action, this dope stuff. Yeah. And then he takes off his mask and it's Tobey Maguire. That's the reveal that I think we're going to probably see in theaters.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to use one of the other two Spider-Man in this capacity, I think Tobey's probably the right choice. I think just in terms of intrigue, this is a nostalgia trip, right? 20th Century Fox and the X-Men as a great example, right? So and let's be clear, when they've talked about the 20th Century Fox X-Men, notice they have focused exclusively on who? The original incarnation, right? Where we're not talking about James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence, right? That generation has not really been in consideration, and they would almost be like the equivalent of the Garfield Spider-Man. They came out around the same time, right? A little younger generation. Yeah. Like this focus has been on original generation characters, right? We're talking about, even that's why all the fun we make of like Channing Tatum, like he's more a contemporary of the original universe, not of the newer one, right? So and that's what they're focused on. So that's in that sense, Tobey Maguire makes more sense. It just kind of caught me off guard, the idea that like we wouldn't see Holland at all, that actually was legitimate, that we're not going to put him in and save him entirely for Brand New Day, obviously, and then for Secret Wars. But we'll see what Maguire gets to do. I thought Garfield outplayed him a little bit in No Way Home. I thought Garfield was better in what he did with his version of the character. But it's not to say Tobey was bad. I mean, he still did Tobey Maguire things. There's some funny things he does in that movie that are very sort of innocent and remind you what made that character successful. But I guess I will be very curious to see, as he doesn't act very much anymore, what capacity. He does not feel like a jobber to me. When I saw this, I was like, I don't think Tobey Maguire is coming back for 2 minutes to be offed by Doom. This actually felt like, given the No Way Home role, there might be some other stuff going on here that we'll talk about it in connection with this whole Sadie Sink. What is she doing and who is she playing? There's some Tobey Maguire angle stuff there that is also kind of potentially relevant, maybe depending on who she's playing, to where like I don't think they're done with the want Maguire and want Garfield at their disposal to do Spider-Man pointing at each other things down the road.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that develops, especially when we're in the theaters and we're seeing this. It'll be interesting. But if it happens, I got to do my Barry Horowitz dance. Sadie Sink, she has been shrouded in secrecy. It's unbelievable.
I don't. We need the people out here to help us.
This is Darth Vader telling to Luke, "I'm your father," and they kept this a secret sort of situation.
Can people think of an actor or actress where this became so viral who they were playing before we knew the answer? Like, can anyone think of a situation like that where like someone was photographed on a set and then it's felt like there's been a new character attached to that actor week by week by week, and we still don't know, but like it's become this, like I said to you, it's like it almost feels like she's playing Batman or like something insane where you're like, they're treating this like it's, they're treating this G14 classified. And I'm like, Sadie Sink is a nice young actress, up and comer, but I'm like, is she really playing someone that important that we gotta have this kind of hype around it?
I think her playing Mary Jane is important and would be, for me, a welcome addition because that character has been associated with Spider-Man since Jump Street. The connection there is huge. And it only makes sense for me anyway, that it be her as Mary Jane. These other characters that they're throwing out there, like she's apparently possibly a variant of Doom. Like, I don't, or Black Cat.
Jean Grey was one initially, right? Because of the red hair and the rumor that she was in X-Men, which was never confirmed. There's also been, talk about the Tobey Maguire thing. There's the Mayday Parker angle, right? Where she's Tobey Maguire universe daughter. Hence, and she is now confirmed to be in Doomsday. So people are now drawing that connection of, okay, so if Toby's in Doomsday and she's in Doomsday, does that mean that's the Parker family connection that they're showing there? There's been also a little bit of Gwen Stacy talk, although I think you're right. I think if it's that angle, it's clearly MJ, Mary Jane MJ, not Michelle Jones MJ, which they can clearly do there. But I'm just kind of scratching my head why this is such a big deal. I'm like, again, it's like something is out of whack. Like either the character profile, like, is there really of that list? I understand what you're saying, that Mary Jane Watson is very central to the Peter Parker lineage. But even if that was leaked, that doesn't ruin Brand New Day in any way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it has me more excited to see that
right?
dynamic.
Like, so I'm kind of like, of that list that we just rattled off, knowing she was playing any of those characters, why the Cloak and Dagger? Like, none of those seem like it's like, oh my God, we've just given away this huge, thing by doing, it's or conversely, like Sadie Sink's profile as an actress is not so big to where like you would take immense measures to hide her being on set, right? It'd be like, oh, we've actually got so and so, you don't know it. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a. They had like Meryl Streep playing somebody, and they don't want you to know that, or they got Leonardo DiCaprio's in Avengers Doomsday. They don't want you to know that. Like, there's just something wrong here with like the way this has become so viral about who is Sadie Sink playing, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
This one I'm interested in because she's not just an Avengers sidecar, right? She's in Brand New Day as a somebody that means something to the go forward of Spider-Man, right? And that I do care about.
To me, MJ just makes the perfect sense because she's perfect for MJ. The original look is just a perfect casting if she was MJ. But
yeah, the Jean Grey thing falls apart for me because of the Brand New Day thing.
Yeah,
I don't understand the point of putting Jean Grey in Brand New Day.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like that makes that's like a what are you doing here?
Yes.
If she's in Spider-Man, I think she has to be a Spider-Man relevant character.
And because if you look at MJ in the comics, cartoons, you just throw Sadie Sink's face in there, and this is perfect casting. I don't see why you would. But again, you got people in there who are not perhaps comic book readers, because we've heard in the past that they want people not to be so. It's crazy how Kevin Feige was the guy handing out comic books when they were shooting X-Men, and now when they do these films, they don't want people to be comic book heads. It's crazy to me. But yeah, let's see what happens with Sadie Sink. Let's see what the big mystery. I still think is going to be MJ, because any other person, there is no gasp. There is no.
That's what I mean. But that also introduces a potentially unique to this Spider-Man compelling human drama between the relationship he had with the Zendaya character that he severed at the end of No Way Home, and the comics accurate, call it, relationship with Mary Jane Watson that presumably he could be starting in Brand New Day, and how those ultimately intersect. That could be some good scenes right there at some point. If the memories crossed over, right, and there's these echoes of like feelings, like that could matter in a way that's not just action set pieces and throwaways. So I hope they don't waste it. I hope they don't waste the opportunity.
The Hand, Brian.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
We got our taste of it in Daredevil, and it wasn't something that most people liked about that season. There was certain aspect of it I did like, in terms of, and I'll say that the time when Daredevil was fighting them, he couldn't beat them or whatever, and he figured out a way to. So that was pretty cool.
The senses where he had to change what he was sensing. I actually love that.
That was dope. But now they're possibly being introduced again. What does this do, Brian, for Brand New Day? And obviously, this gives Punisher some target practice. Right? He not. If they're making it PG-13 and he's killing monsters and zombies instead of actual human beings, that's a bit different.
Well, speaking of, that was one of the other Sadie Sink rumors, was she was playing the Punisher's protege. That's also been out there.
Yeah, it's like, come on,
go into the
man.
list there. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, that's fun. How come you said that?
They wanted to do this with Blade and give him a protege, his daughter, and now it's like, what's up with these sidekicks, yo?
You know what it is? I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Young Avengers,
Baby Grogu. That's what it is. It's the lone wolf and cub thing of Mandalorian Grogu that Disney and related properties, they want to do that like, because Starfighter, right? Like you're seeing this like over and over. And again, this is not like they're not the first people to do it, but I'm saying it feels like they are really wanting, in the eyes of getting that young audience, they're really wanting that idea. Hawkeye, right? Like Hawkeye with Haley Steinfeld. Like there's a lot of that going around. So that's what it feels like.
Obviously, I'm not excited about it.
It's interesting. You're not excited about it.
About The Hand?
Yeah, I am kind of excited about it.
Really? I'm curious.
Okay.
I'm curious in the sense to see how different they play this.
Versus
how
Netflix.
Different. Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's my feeling towards it.
Okay.
But what specifically excites you about this possibility?
Yeah, two things. So number one is the context in which this rumor came up is a set piece that I actually think Destin Cretton could do something with, which is supposedly there is a prison fight involving Spider-Man against the ninjas of the Hand. That's how they're going to be introduced. So just whatever you think of Shang-Chi, I think Cretton did some really nice work on the bus and on the skyscraper in terms of how he shot some of the martial arts and the blocking and stuff. So I don't think this will rival the Punisher's prison fight in terms of its brutality, which I think is the high point of sort of Marvel Universe, extended universe prison fighting. But I am interested to see a large-scale ninja fight involving Spider-Man and his powers at his street-level powers, right? His non-Stark Tech power. I think that could be an interesting step piece. So that's number one. Number two is I actually generally am liking the fact of what seems to be a unification of Spider-Man with the Daredevil universe. I think this is actually a good idea for a streets-level Spider-Man in the wake of No Way Home. And so I am just sort of intrigued to see where this can go, right? Because you're getting John Bernthal. We've already had him cross paths with Charlie Cox, and supposedly, we've been told Daredevil season 2, there's ramifications there for Brand New Day as well. We've told the Punisher special. We're told there's a lot more of these linkages now between Spider-Man in his current form and these Netflix characters that they brought over, which kind of leads you in the general direction of like, okay, does that mean Spider-Man and Kingpin might ultimately go head to head, with D'Onofrio as a Kingpin? Like, it's just, we know there's some contractual stuff around Kingpin and Daredevil on big screen along with Spider-Man, but like if we assume for a second something could be worked out and we're going to spend a little bit of time with Tom Holland's Spider-Man away from the intergalactic stuff, and we're going to spend time with him in New York, in Hell's Kitchen, with some of these Netflix characters fighting Kingpin. I don't know, man. I'm there for that. Like, I feel like that could be a nice arc of reinvention here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there with Brand New Day in all the little things that they have mentioned. I mean,
I'm up for this movie, man. I'm pretty fired up. Yeah. Hulk I'm nervous about. But I'm up for the rest of it. So
the reason why I say that is because, again, you have the hand in there and you sort of get to see how the hand, these mindless zombies sort of attack him and how he dispatches of him so quickly. It'll be interesting how that interaction happens. But yeah, I'm over the Hulk. I want to see I'm curious. There's a lot of curiosity. I'm excited to see what I'm excited for, Brian, is the swinging.
Yes, I agree.
Of Spider-Man. I'm excited to see what this looks like.
Yeah, Spider-Man in action. I think the way they're doing this practically, and I think when you and I are a little bit at odds over Shang-Chi, but I do think his visual direction of that action is well done. And I think there's potential there for what you can do with Spidey in that context. So
Vision Quest updates, Brian, what we have.
We haven't talked a lot about this show since they confirmed it was coming back there was the Star Trek Picard showrunner, Terry Matalas. One thing that I wanted to point out, and I don't want to spend time on the little casting announcements. I wanted to ask you about story-wise, they did something with this show in the repurposing of it that caught me a little off guard, to be honest, and it just wanted to get your take on it. They are positioning this show as the finale of WandaVision and Agatha all along. They are saying that this is a part 3 to those two shows and brings together some of the characters and storylines of those two shows to wrap them up. That, in some senses, might seem like a stretch. Like, how do you get from Agatha and Billy all the way back to White Vision? But it just sort of was like, I didn't really see that coming, right? This felt like a spin-off initially and like a new direction, maybe West Coast Avengers. It felt like something they wanted to do. And like for them to basically say like, no, we're actually going to retcon this into like a contiguous storyline and bring it to some kind of resolution. I don't know, like it sort of just made me like a little curious. And I'm curious as to your reaction to that idea that this is not actually like a standalone anything. It is actually like, hey, we might get Elizabeth Olsen. You might get some dark, it might get some stuff that you haven't seen resolved from prior projects brought into this. Does that make you any more excited to see it?
I've always been curious about Vision Quest because he's in a state of a lot of confusion and self-discovery, would you say, right? And so his path is interesting in where he ends up and the sort of questions or answers that he may be looking for. So I'm curious to see how this plays out and how it connects to other stuff possibly. But this is one that hasn't been on my radar too much, but I am curious to see where this Vision Quest, when we last saw him, where he departed to and what answers he's seeking. Where is he? What purpose? Again, it reminds me of the android in Justice League Unlimited. What purpose does he have? Is he looking for those answers? So, yeah, there's some curiosity. I don't know about excitement, but certainly some curiosity.
Yeah, like I said, this show's been kind of a 0 for me, and this probably took it to like a 2 or a 3 of like, like it. I just like.
You didn't see that coming?
And I will say, like, it seems like an age, and that Ship of Theseus scene is still actually one of the more sort of enjoyable scenes for me in WandaVision. It's that little scene of Vision talking to White Vision before he sort of flies off. And I was like, there's something in there. Like, there's something like intellectually engaging and intriguing about that character in there.
The intellectual aspect of it, because you're talking about highly intelligent, sentient beings here that think above what we think, so to speak, right? So it'll definitely be something to look forward to. And I'm curious to see how this all turns out for him. And if it connects to other things, it'll be interesting to see how it connects to these other things, WandaVision.
I was less excited to see James Spader come back as Ultron, and versus actually when I heard these, and I was kind of like, oh, you actually are going to try to bring together some of these threads. And honestly, like I said, Agatha wasn't really for me. But WandaVision back in the day, like that still stands now as that's aged better. It's kind of like you look back on it now, you're like, oh, that's actually some of the high points of Marvel TV are in that show. And yeah, I don't know. It just sort of was like, okay. It all of a sudden, it's like let's put it this way. You took something that felt like it wasn't going anywhere, and you're now selling it to me like it's going somewhere. Like there's something to bring around here. And that at least made me feel like, okay, it may be not the plan you had originally, but if you found a way in to make it compelling and have momentum, then yeah, maybe I will show up for that.
But yeah, that's our Marvel Roundup show. Anything else, Brian, before we wrap this one up?
No, I would love some people to weigh in on just like, in your thought process or like the time you spend wondering about the genre or the big projects that are out there, honestly, where is Sadie Sink on that list day to day? Because I just challenge somebody to tell me that that's a top 5 consideration for them right now. But man, it feels like it's being treated that way.
Word up. Word up. There's just like the amount of secrecy around this is just crazy. I don't want to feel like Ralphie in Christmas Story. That's where I'm at. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of everything we discussed thus far in Marvel Roundup. And again, if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first on the Nerd Gen Report.